So this is one thing which I wanted to remind. Uh, in this slide, we can say that her own constituency, of course, has been a problem, and also the middle castes. They have also deserted her a lot. And Dalits, as you have just now seen in that slide, they are 21% of the population, and MBCs are around 60% of the OBC population. Now, what has happened actually in this entire thing is that Mayawati hardcore Dalit constituency has deserted her. Even the most backwards, they have deserted her. But the story is that the add-ons have not deserted her as apprehended or as alleged by Mayawati. The Brahmins and the upper castes, they still are with BSP. They have not deserted Mayawati. They are very much, and this voting pattern, you would probably have a very clear picture about how things have gone for Mayawati so far as the Dalit voting pattern is concerned, and so far as the core constituency Chamar voting pattern has concerned. And here you can see that the Dalits have voted in each and every region decisively against Mayawati. And there is no region in Uttar Pradesh in which she can say that no, Dalits of this region have been with me. In every region you can see that they have decisively voted against. And not only that, Dalits have voted, but her own core constituency, they have also decisively voted against Mayawati in each and every constituency. Not only the caste wise, if you go by the class, even in every class, you can see that Dalit men have voted against, Dalit women have gone against, Valmikis have gone against, educated have gone against, young people have gone against, urban Dalits, and they are all Dalits. So if you go by class, if you go by caste, if you go by region, in every segment and denomination, she has been decisively defeated by her core constituency. So this is one of the major arguments of the paper, that Mayawati has been terribly defeated by her own constituency. Now, what the Muslim thing? Mayawati has alleged that Muslims, they voted for Samajwadi party, but as we can see, thank you so much, Rahul. As you can see yourself, Muslim support for Mayawati has not actually gone down. It has actually gone up. You see how your assertion is refuted here, that in 2007, 17% Muslims voted for BSP, in 2009, 18% Muslims voted for BSP, and in 2012, 20% Muslims have voted for BSP. Where has the difference come from? The difference in this election has come from the fact that double the number of support has gone to SP. So probably this slide would make it more clear. You can have a look at this, that how this, you can say the graph is ascending for 2007, 2009 and 2012. And here you can see the comparative graph for SP and BSP. In this graph, you can see that the Mayawati, support, Muslim support for Mayawati is in ascendance, is growing. But how sharply has the Muslim support for Samajwadi party risen? This is for all of us to see. So this is making a difference. So almost double the difference. She is at 20 and that is around 40. So this double the difference is in the Muslim support has probably made some difference. Now this man, the MBCs, we talked not about the most backward castes in these elections. And this man, as we all know by this time, is known as Babu Singh Kushwaha. He was a health and family welfare minister in Mayawati's cabinet, and he was expelled for his involvement in some scam, etc. in Uttar Pradesh, about which I am not interested. But what I am interested to tell you about this man, Babu Singh Kushwaha, is not an ordinary person. He is a person who has been with Kanchi Ram and has been the most backward face in Mayawati's and entire BSP, bomb safe, as Robin was referring to in the morning, that whether bomb safe people have taken less interest this time. I mean, this man was actually, the Mayawati is basically a Dalit-centric party. And he was an add-on to the Dalits. He was the most backward face in the BSP organizationally, and he was a man of organization. And his hold over his own clan, and that clan was around 10 million voters. That means around 10% vote share in the electorate. So you have around 120 million electorate, and you have around 12 million, a particular caste denomination. So that is a very major segment of the OBCs, and this comes only from 3-4 subcastes of the OBC. Kushwaha is the most backward, and the same variety of castes which are slated here are Maurya, Pal, Shakya, Saini, Koiri. There are 4-5 groups of castes which are basically the most backward and most numerically dominant caste in Uttar Pradesh, and these people actually around 10% of the electorate. And these 10% of the electorate, is a massive, number, and that's why this man was important, because he has a tremendous control over the entire group in his, constituency. And this man was ousted by Mayawati just on the eve of elections. Politically very unwise decisions. What were the internal stories, we do not know. How he was actually ousted and why he was actually ousted, nobody knows. Till date, there are so many rumors here and there about which we will not like to go. I mean, if I were the Mayawatis, I would still retain him and shunt him after the elections. That would have been politically so wise for Mayawati to keep him, at least this man, in the organization for the namesake. Because you see, Mayawati has lost 9% most backward caste votes. Of course, the advantage did not go to BJP, for which that man campaigned actually, because of some other reasons. But the harm was done, and Mayawati was, down by 9% MBC vote share. So a party losing 9% MBC vote share, which is around 60% of the total electorate. I mean, it's absolutely an absurd decision for a party to take, or for a chief minister to take. You could have waited for a month and then ousted that man after taking advantage if you were politically mature that way. But probably she was not. And that's why this happened. And of course, this young man about whom most of you probably are quite familiar, and of course he has been left with all fingers and no hands. Hand is the symbol of Congress, and so he is a man, actually repenting, and he campaigned vigorously. He won the heart of the people that he has been working very hard. People had sympathies for him. People wanted Congress to be, there in the reckoning. In fact, there was an undercurrent for the Congress. I still hold that there was a strong undercurrent for the Congress. But a current, if not tapped, has to go waste. And that's what happened actually in Uttar Pradesh. That this man, despite all his energies, despite all his efforts, this undercurrent actually gone waste, because his party was not interested in roping in that undercurrent or tapping that undercurrent probably. So this is about the Congress. Now, why I am saying this, that this undercurrent was there, would probably for you to see, and this is based on ECI data. ECI data, it's not the survey data, it's the ECI data. We spread the ECI data zone wise, the region wise, and you can still see that in each and every region there was, in spite of the fact that Congress vote share was so minuscule, about 11%, 11.6%, in spite of that fact, the Congress registered accretions in vote share in each and every region of Uttar Pradesh, and you can very well understand and estimate what would have happened to Congress if the Congress would have put up good candidates, would have been able to rope in the kind of undercurrent about which we were talking about. So in spite of all the stupidity of the Congress, organizationally and electorally, the party still managed to register vote accretions in each and every region of the state. And of course, this can be treated as done. Now, this is an interesting, important profile which you would probably like to concentrate on. And why I am saying interesting is that this is the 2007 thing, and this is the 2009 thing. And you can see what we had just now seen about Mayawati and BSP was replicated by the Congress in 2009. you can see that this is Congress profile. This looks like a BSP profile, of 2007, because you can see that in each and every social denomination, Congress increased its vote share. There was not a single social segment in which Congress would have lost. In each and every social segment, Congress actually gained. So this was a very major gain for the party in 2009. Now, what you can still feel interested in, that in spite of all Congress' poor performance, if you look 2012 from the vantage of 2007, you can still find that in each and every social segment, of course Brahmins, you find still the party has managed to have vote accretions in spite of all its poor showings in 2012. So if you compare 2007 and 2012, you find that you still have a gainer. Congress, there was still an undercurrent. So my argument that Congress had an undercurrent in this election 2012 still probably holds good because of this data, which shows that compared to 2007, the party still had vote accretions, and in each every the sub-region of the state, the party still had vote accretions. Why this vote share, why this undercurrent failed, or why Congress was not able to tap this undercurrent? I have some arguments and I have some points to make. And one point that I have been consistently making is that the Congress organizational, setup at the grassroots level is almost in a shamble. I mean, I was extremely, surprised to talk to the Congress people of my constituency, and who gave me a new phrase. They told me that, sir, this Congress candidate would be voted by the congressmen who are absolutely 24-carat Congress people. I have not heard about this 24-carat Congress phrase earlier. Once I asked what this 24-carat Congress people mean, then they said that pure Congressy, the one who is absolutely 100% Congressy, even only he will vote for a Congress candidate of this variety, we will not vote for the... So forget about the electorate. Even the Congress people, Congress party persons were not willing to support a Congress candidate whom they considered so much an outsider. So how can you expect the voter to be voting for? So this is a very strong point, and Congress needs to revamp its strategy and think about how the Congress can do some kind of resurgence in electoral politics of Uttar Pradesh, and not unless it goes to revamp its entire structure, organizational structure at the grassroots level. And most of the candidates, they had the imposed and outsider kind of an image. And also I must share with you that the earlier euphoria of the Nehru-Gandhi family is waning down. Enough is enough. People have voted for Nehrus and Gandhis for ages. But as I was sharing with friends this morning some of my ideas of my visit to Amethi, I visited Amethi, and later on we had discourse with Rahul Gandhi, and he was boasting high about his developmental efforts in his own constituency, and I plainly told him I am thoroughly disappointed by your developmental claims, because when I went to Amethi, it was very hard driving even your constituency. So he gave me some arguments, this and that, but it was not selling actually. These arguments were bogus, and the constituency has not only been represented by him for quite long, but it is a constituency which is represented by the family for 5 generations. And why should this constituency and the area around should be in such a shamble as this? So these people are themselves responsible for this kind of a situation for the Congress. It is only thanks to the people that in spite of all these things, and in spite of such a pitiable conditions of the developmental aspects of the constituency, they still manage to have some kind of a feeling and affection for the party. So party should always thank the electorate, but it cannot click in UP politics unless, of course, Rahul Gandhi also during the elections projected an angry man's image, thinking of that people will probably admire him like an Amitabh Bachchan kind of an image, who was an angry man of 1970s, being appreciated by the young audience, but probably he did not click. And in comparison, Akhilesh, his sober, his pleasing, and his refined manners clicked more with the Indian electorate. One very tricky question which Congress, floated for itself during the campaign was that Congress actually floated a 4.5% quota for minorities, not Muslims, minorities. and thought that they would probably, it was a trump card for the Congress that the Muslims would now come to their side. But nothing, Muslims were not impressed. It was a complete fiasco, because when we talked to certain Muslims, they said that now they would have to compete with Sikhs, they would have to compete with Christians, they would have to compete with Jains, they would have to compete with Buddhas within that 4.5%. So what will remain to them? What will be left over to them? So this is a Congress gimmick in which we are not going to be trapped into. So that's why that was a very, a smart move on the part of the Congress, but a very bad, turned out to be a complete fiasco for. And not only this, in 2009, around 20% OBCs, they have had a shift to Congress. They deserted each and every political party and they just bang on to Congress. 20% Kurmis, for example. Now, these people were angry with the Congress. They were angry with the Congress because they thought that the Congress was, doing something where they are going to be losers by 4.5%. So Muslims were not impressed because they are not going to be gainers, and OBCs were, hurt because they thought that Congress was somehow surreptitiously trying to deprive them of 4.5% of their vote share. And so they were sandwiched between this Muslim resentment and OBC resentment, and that is also reflected in the data. So minority reservation was a double loss to the Congress. It did not succeed in drawing Muslims, and in fact resulted in the loss of OBCs. And this lady is Uma Bharti, and she was basically working in Madhya Pradesh, in BJP Madhya Pradesh, and suddenly BJP thought that she would be brought back to the leadership in Uttar Pradesh and probably revitalize the entire BJP organization here, which was not to be. And she created a lot of flutter in the leadership, leadership structure of the BJP. A lot of BJP people were absolutely angry and annoyed with Mayawati, and they thought that she was an outsider. So, and many thought that there would be revolt in the party leadership structure, but somehow that was managed. But the party did very poorly. Of course, in some region, Bundelkhand, where she came from, the party did manage some seats and some extra votes. But the BJP did not or could not do very well. You can have a look at the BJP regional performance. You can see that in all regions, probably it is losing except the Bundelkhand. So Bundelkhand, she was making a clout, and this is in all regions she was losing. So this is about. And of course, the BJP profile you can see is for all of you to see that in almost every social denomination, the BJP has been losing in Uttar Pradesh. So it's a party at the moment not very much in the reckoning. There are certain things we have been talking about UP politics on the basis of caste, and now a brief reference. I have 5 minutes?
5 minutes?
Okay. So just 5 minutes. So I'll make a reference to the class issues, how the four parties, and now we'll have a comparative graphs of how the four parties have been actually doing on the class front. Now this is the reserve constituency about which I talked earlier, and I told you that there are constituencies which are reserved, and now we have 85 constituency out of 403 which are reserved in Uttar Pradesh, reserved for scheduled caste. So in Uttar Pradesh there is no reservation for scheduled tribes. Normally there is reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Uttar Pradesh, according to census, has no tribals, to which I have made a strong challenge, and my contention is that Uttar Pradesh has a scheduled tribe population which is fairly equal to the national average of 8.6%, on which we are actually working right now. But that is a separate issue. But right now, Uttar Pradesh has no scheduled tribes according to the census, and there is only reservation for the scheduled caste. So here you can see that these parties, how they have done in the reserved constituency, and of course in this is for 2007, and green is for 2007, and 12 is for 2012, and you can see that Samajwadi party has done so well in the reserved constituency, which earlier used to be the domain of Mayawati and the BSP. So this is for the now. How the parties have done in localities. There are, we have taken 3 localities and the ECI data. This is the ECI data, not the survey data. Now we have classified constituencies, 403 constituencies on the basis of population less than 25% urban, then 25%, 75% semi-urban, and for urban more than 75% urban population. And here you can see that in each and every kind of a locality, the BSP has been doing well, except the urban thing. In the urban thing, you can still see that the BJP has been maintaining some kind of a clout. So this is an important pointer for the BSP, that it is the BJP has always been charge of a middle class traders and urban centric party. So the CSDS data still holds good about that and sees that the BJP is still has some clout in the urban centers. Now this is the different zones. Mayawati actually before elections, that actually was going to be a major issue, but suddenly it went into the sidelines. Mayawati wanted to divide Uttar Pradesh into 4 parts, and these are the rough estimates of the areas in which she would have. There was no detailed description of what area she was planning to divide, how these areas will be worked out. No, just an idea that Uttar Pradesh is divided into 4 parts and floated, and of course rebounded by the union government rightly. But these were the areas, and had UP been divided into 4 parts, how the assembly constituencies would have actually figured into this. So if you can see that in every constituency, even if she would have divided Uttar Pradesh to take some political advantage, that advantage would not have been there for Mayawati to take. In each and every segment you find that the SP is leading whatever the 4 states she would have thought of dividing. And of course this is a vote share. How the vote share would have been in the part for the party. If you look at the BSP vote share, that you find that probably she would not gain anything out of it, and almost a stable kind of a vote share you would find in the in each and every divided sub-region of the state, and that's also for the most of the political parties. This is vote share by the class. The upper class exceeding income 20,000 or more than that, the middle class around 10,000. Up to 10,000, lower class up to 5,000, and poor less than 2,000 or more less than that. So these are the classes, and if you look at the class thing, you can still say that BSP, this party, still happens to be leading so far as the party of poor is concerned. This party is still leading in the poor, but in rest all you find that Samajwadi party is leading. So this is an interesting finding, that BSP can still say that I am a party of the poor, which are the by and large a very majority group. And this we have already checked up. This is a survey database thing. Vote share by education is also what interests me. And here you can find that the BSP has suddenly been appreciated by the people of other educated group, but still it happened to be that highest highest share of the BSP in non-literate, who are also incidentally the most poor. So these two graphs actually match. In the most poor, the BSP is still leading. In the most less educated non-literate section, the BSP is still leading. So BSP is not down and out. BSP still is a party which is in the reckoning very much. I am still maintaining that this election should not be taken for granted for SP, and because of the SP's very small minuscule vote share. And this is the by age, how the parties have been doing by age, and still in this group you can see that in every age group there was appreciation and liking for the SP as number 1 political party. This is vote share by gender, very interesting data, because in Law and Order 2007, women were the greatly perturbed lot, and many survey studies pointed out that women were greatly attracted to Rahul Gandhi this election, but somehow the survey data shows that even women, when it came to voting Samajwadi party, somehow they were attracted not by Rahul Gandhi, but the promises of laptops, promises of, free scholarships, promises of, unemployment, grants of 1,000 rupees per month to women and so on and so forth. And they finally choose this Samajwadi party as the party. And finally, some of the major trends which could be finally summed up by analyzing all the data is that Uttar Pradesh has always been touted since 1989 as a state having fractured mandate. So it appears that for the last two elections, consecutive elections at least, the party has not been actually having fractured mandate. The party has, people of Uttar Pradesh, they have been giving the party complete and clear mandate. In 2007 also they gave complete and clear mandate, Mayawati, and 2012 they again gave a clear and complete mandate to Mayawati. So we have a clear majority government. The days of fractured mandate appears to be over, and we are heading towards inclusive politics, because most of the political parties, they are probably now sure that in the era of fractured mandates, they can probably go for exclusive politics. But if they wish to have a majority, they have to have an inclusive approach to the entire thing, and that's why every political party is getting inclusive. So inclusiveness in Indian politics and inclusiveness in UP politics is also a very major pointer. And marriage model of voting behavior is giving away to stock exchange or share market model of voting behavior. By this I mean that we are not now wedded to a particular political party, as you saw in the desertion of Samajwadi BSP by Yadavs and the Chamaas. They have stayed away from BSP and Mayawati, and they have voted for Samajwadi party. So they don't feel so much wedded to a particular political party. There is a share market model of voting behavior that I would vote for a political party. I would rather have a leader who would probably give me greater returns. So that is another kind of approach. A very interesting trend has been discernible in the Muslim voting behavior in Uttar Pradesh this time. And that, to my mind, has come up because when I interacted with a lot of people, and especially Muslims, then many of them now showed very great confidence. And earlier, the days of anti-BJPism is over, and probably in their voting behavior, they are not now more threatened by the BJP kind of a thing in Uttar Pradesh. They are very confident, and therefore they can keep the BJP out for a particular moment. And this is proved by the fact that the BJP vote share is up by 4% this election, and that too by Muslims. So the BJP's Muslim vote share is up by 4%. This is an pointer which correlates with the data that the Muslims are now becoming greater, having great confidence now, and they are now their voting behavior is not BJP centric, but they are now going for a tactical voting for the positive bringing of a particular political party for which they voted this time, that is Samajwadi party. And of course, the rest is there to see. I have already taken a lot of your time, and I greatly thank you very much for very patient hearing. And now the floor is actually open.
Thank you very much. Come and sit and stay here. We're open for questions. We give ourselves perhaps 15-20 minutes. Yes, please, please begin. You start, and then we'll go on from there.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. I have two simple questions. One is, why did Mayawati's core constituency desert her? And why did Mayawati's core constituency desert her? And why did it switch to the Samajwadi party in this particular election? And secondly, Akhilesh Yadav has been touted as a very dynamic young leader. But looking at his cabinet, one doesn't feel so enthusiastic about it. He has brought in very dubious personalities, and so one wonders, does anything really change just because he is at the helm?
Shall I take these questions?
Yeah, I think start with that. A lot of other people want one. Yeah.
Yes, you asked actually a very interesting question, and that question is why the core constituency has Mayawati deserted her. This is a question where BSP has faced a crisis in amalgamating its social engineering with inclusive politics. What happens that Mayawati and BSP, they were known for a kind of a politics which we called exclusionary politics. Exclusionary politics means that we basically focus on a caste group, that is Dalit, and we do politics. When Mayawati realized that she cannot structure majority by resorting to exclusionary politics, then she took a U-turn, and the U-turn was philosophically backed, that she suddenly started saying from Bahujan Samaj to Sarvajan Samaj. So there was a philosophical U-turn and there was a U-turn from exclusionary to inclusionary. When she tried to become inclusionary, she had to bring in Brahmins, she had to bring in upper castes. When she brought Brahmins and when she brought upper caste in the party positions, then it had to be at the cost of the people who were already there entrenched in the party and who were already there entrenched in the government. And these people were those people whom we call the core constituency, because they had worked for years for Mayawati. And therefore, her inclusive approach also led to the exclusion of her Dalit constituency from the leadership structure. And this is the reason that she, on the one hand, she was trying to be inclusive, but by being inclusive, she ousted and she became, ousting her own constituency from the political positions in the party and the government, and that's why the people, her own core constituency felt greatly cheated and unhappy at her inclusive politics.
Sorry, but this social engineering she did in 2007, but managed to win them.
That was the first time when she actually attempted this and managed to win. So when she won, then the displacement started. Displacement did not come earlier, and she won because she attempted through Brahman Jodo Sammelans and Brahman Bhaichara Banao committees. So 2007 was an output of her social engineering, when Brahmins were actually inducted into the government and political parties. And when they came into political party and her government, then the Dalits were ousted, and those Dalits who were ousted, they felt that the political space for them was shrinking in BSP. That is point number one. Second is that economic space for the BSP was also, economic space for the Dalits was also shrinking in the BSP, and I'll give you one very interesting example. In India, there is a particular job of cleaning scavengers, that is reserved for a Dalit constituency. Nobody else would do. OBCs would not do that. Upper caste would not, middle class would not do that. Upper caste would not. It is reserved for the Dalit constituency. Now what happened that she advertised around 1 lakh scavengers job in Uttar Pradesh. Since it was a government advertisement, everybody applied, even Brahmins applied. And you know what happened? Not only Brahmins applied, but around 30% Brahmins were actually appointed to the scavenger's job. Even that would have been fine if a Brahmin is appointed scavenger and he cleans the road and cleans your house, etc. But what happened that the Brahmins took the appointment and outsourced the jobs to the Dalits on a paltry payment. So these Dalits, they thought that they are not only losing the political clout in the government, they are not only losing the political space in the government, they are also losing the economic space in the government, and that's why the tremendous resentment against the BSP government. Your second question is that how Akhilesh, with a good image and clean image, has so bad ministers. I think I was talking to Robin and Ronojoy this morning, and I would probably like to give them some space, some time, because Akhilesh is not starting on a clean slate. He has stepped into his father's shoes, and this cabinet I would probably consider his father's cabinet, which he is made to charioteer. He is heading the entire team. He is the captain of the team, but the team is the making of his father, not his own. So let us wait for some time. Let us think that in spite of this team, probably his focus on development would not allow these people. I mean, if you keep bad people and turn them out good, that's your more credit. And probably we hope that bad ministers doing good work, that would be the outcome of Akhilesh's this tenure. Let us hope so. Yeah. Sir.
We'll take three now. There's 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you, Professor Verma. That was a really interesting presentation where the data were told interesting stories. It was fascinating. And I was just wondering that with your sort of with the caste, class, and all of these sort of complicate the reckoning of identity politics, can there be introduced a reckoning of minorities losing on a very gendered sensibility? Because when I was in India and I sort of, while the elections were happening, and this is just based on reading the media reports and talking, engaging with people, there was this huge palpable anxiety about Mayawati, not, and I'm talking about it within the sort of lower Dalit caste, about Mayawati's exaggerated masculine performance. She was unapologetically masculine, you know, and I think what you said, you know, that rich lady, so much so that, and even amongst the women, the women were threatened by that overtly masculine performance. And the men felt that she was not being docile enough. You know, there was this, and if you read the media reportage and that whenever you spoke about, whenever there was any reporting on Mayawati, it was all about her statues and her regal, and you know, how she maintained the distance. She was unapologetically behaving in a very masculine sort of, sort of thing. And whether that can be sort of whether that can be a lens to understand the unfoldings of this election.
Okay, we'll take that one and then we'll take the three and then
Okay.
you can respond.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
One is very related questions. We all know that whatever Mayawati has done it, one thing she has done it, that she has given an identity to the Dalit people. Nobody can touch them in the last 5 years. We all know that operation happened for Dalits in thousands of years. And the major caste which oppressed Dalits belong to the, you can say, there were Jats and the Yadavs who oppressed them, or Thakurs, you can say in the villages. I'm a bit still confused. How can it possible that Dalits core constituency, which give them the constituency which become confident, and they suddenly deserted the lady who has given them whatever, because we heard from them in the reports and all the last 5 years, Dalits, especially Jatavs, got they get the maximum benefit of government contracts or whatever, in sense. That is one question. Second is, we have also seen in this election, large number of Muslim MLA won this time. 88, I think, something around 85, 86 MLAs. Do you think it's a significant event? And how the BJP will shape up its politics in coming years?
And
my question is about, I came late, I missed the earlier part of your presentation. So I have two questions. One is about, I'm wondering whether there is a different reading from this electoral verdict, which might be possible. And it could be along these lines that the two national parties, the Congress and the BJP, have been marginalized, whereas the two regional parties are competing for political space. So can we look on this as a kind of a maturing of the regional identity, just as, in a small way took place in Bihar, or in a more mature way in the case of, say, Tamil Nadu, where two parties are competing, who are very much working within that framework. My second question relates to the fortunes of the Samajwadi Party. Of course, you analyze the BSP, in terms of what has led to the revival of the Samajwadi Party. And I was just thinking of your essay in 2007 on the Samajwadi Party, in which you portrayed as a party which is in decline. So how does one square up? What has happened between 2007 to 2012 to the Samajwadi Party?
Let's bring with more than three, so it goes on, and that might be all we have time for.
Okay. I see your question as a very interesting, taking a very interesting trajectory. I had not a chance to look at it, and thank you very much for giving this kind of a feedback. Yes, Mayawati was inaccessible. And as you rightly said, that men felt that she was not docile. And of course, you can understand what women would be probably feeling about her. So that was a masculine Mayawati. It's a fascinating, idea, and thank you very much. I would probably work on this and try to see whether this was a factor. But you see, a masculine Mayawati might be is still a selling cake. Had she been able to communicate, the entire story is like this, that she was the real lady in the castle, and not only a lady in the castle, but a lady in the castle confined to her four walls. She would not come out, not let people in, and there was a disconnect between the governor and the governed. So that was a very major, point. In spite of the masculine, if the things would have gone right on the grassroots level, and probably if she would have checked up the developmental thing, things would still have worked for her. Because one thing on which she greatly improved and won the heart of people was the law and order, about which the women must be worrying about a lot, Dalits must be worrying about a lot. So on the law and order front, there was all-round appreciation, as you rightly pointed out, that probably she had done much better. But the question is that when law and order is fine, you feel good. But when it is not fine, you give the discredit to me. You don't give me credit for the law and order, because law and order is the onus of the government, and government is supposed to be maintaining the law and order. I won't give you any prize for maintaining law and order. What is the add-on? I mean, what law and order for what? Have the women improved? Have their day-to-day life improved? Have the Dalits got something which they were not getting earlier? In fact, if you look at the data, and I had not a chance to go into the details, you will find that there was a tremendous resentment among the Dalits against the statues. There are 48%, I have not a chance to show the data, there are 48% women, the 48% Dalits who say that they were absolutely against Mayawati putting the statues. And instead they thought that that money should have been spent on the betterment of their economic day-to-day quality of life. So that was not there. So what I am trying to say is probably that your angle is a very innovative angle, and I will work on it. I would love to work on it. But I would still maintain that even if she would have, we agree with what you say, things would still have gone well for BSP, because BSP is not very much behind the SP, and its vote share is not very much down. And still, as you saw in the poor segment and the uneducated segment, she is still number one political party. So we should not, take BJP and Mayawati lightly. The only thing is that she took a probably lesser interest this time in percolating her social engineering and resolving the contradictions between the inclusive politics and the social engineering.
Would you then move to the Muslim question, perhaps? Because I think the Dalit identity, why the Dalits switched to the SP, you probably dealt with, or why Dalits deserted BSP.
That's right.
But take on the Muslim question that the gentleman says.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the question? Can you repeat?
The large number of MLAs have elected Muslim MLAs. I think more than 85 probably. This is, I think, largest first time it happened. Do you think it's a significant event? And how, connected questions, how big do you think that coming months and years BJP in Uttar Pradesh, politics of BJP in Uttar Pradesh will shape up? Because the lady is in the helm of affairs of BJP is Uma Bharti, who was the symbol of Ayodhya movement.
Well, coming of good number of MLAs is a welcome development, because as we all know, Muslims are around 18%, 18.5% in the whole thing. So up to that level, at least, if you're not exactly proportionate, if you are up to that level, it's a good sign, and you feel greater, greatly represented, and more proportional kind of maturing kind of a democracy, that every social denomination is there in the government and all. But you see, what is very important about the Muslim representation thing is that ultimately you get Muslims elected, but are you really prepared to take the graver issues of Muslim welfare by heart? Or you are just trying to give them greater representation and forgetting the rest of the community? So when you have the inclusive approach, when you have the accommodating approach, you should not be myopic in your understanding of the welfare of a particular segment, because that may ultimately harm and lead to polarization against your policies of a greater community or a bigger community. Because if you think that a particular community is being unnecessarily given representation, then certain other communities will get polarized. What happens in the western Uttar Pradesh? Western Uttar Pradesh, you have a very large share of Muslim population, but that sometimes you find that the Hindus win from those constituencies, because in spite of the very large share of Muslim population, all the Hindus will get polarized and get
That's
Muslim.
my question actually related.
Yeah.
Do you think that this will shape up the BJP politics in UP?
This will shape up the BJP politics.
Assertion of Muslims.
Why should only this shape up BJP politics in UP? Because BJP is already into it.
Yeah, that's
Already 4%, I mentioned that 4% vote share, and more Muslims are getting confident about, because you see, it's a now very interesting phenomena. And the phenomena is that if you queue for tickets in the SP or Congress or BSP, there is a long way to go. But if you queue for the BSP for a ticket, you instant get the ticket. So why not get a ticket and get elected? So it's very much that simple. So let us hope that it's a both way advantage, both for the advantage of Muslims and both advantage for the society. So, and finally, yeah.
Two questions. Yes.
Finally,
The SP and what has happened since
yes,
2007.
the revival of SP. And
The regional,
the national versus.
regional parties maturing in UP.
I mean, I'm really very fascinated about your use of the maturing thing, and I was wondering if this is the maturity of democracy, that just regional parties versus national parties, or there's something else when you talk about maturing of democracy. I mean, that way you can say that BSP is a national party technically, though it is dominant in a region. So technically BSP is a national party, and we can say that a national party is there. And so the only regional parties in the play was the SP. So just bringing in an SP, a regional party, into the government would not probably show a maturing of democracy, because of the vote share, it's not a very good vote share to say that it's a maturing of democracy and it has been a greater choice of the people. In fact, it is a choice lesser by 1% than what Mayawati's choice was. So that way, I would not prefer to call it maturing of democracy. I would call it compulsive logic probably, that people were so unhappy with Mayawati, that she was so much into corruption, says she was so into, has put all the administration on sale, so that people were absolutely terribly annoyed with the BSP government, and they voted somebody out, and they saw the Samajwadi party, a competitive party which can get rid of the BSP. That's why many people turn to SP. So that also answers probably your second question, what led to revival of for the Samajwadi party, and you are referring to my, thanks for reading my article. In fact, I was not knowing that people are so well informed. I thought that I could only come here and talk about it and go away. But no, I am greatly trapped by my own articles. So thank you very much for that. What I actually mentioned in that article is that Samaj, and I still maintain that Samajwadi party has forgotten about Samajwad. They might say that there is a Samajwadi party, but I, with all my convictions and complete approval of the Samajwadi party, still would insist that Samajwadi party has very little left of Samajwad, because in the modern world, it is really very difficult to handle a political party through Samajwad in a global and competitive framework. In there, a lot of liberalization and capitalism and this and that and big projects. So gone are the days of handling things in a very, very micro level. Now, if our problem is so huge, our developmental requirements are so huge, that you are bound to bring in capitalists to handle those problems in a macro manner. And if you think of going at the grassroots level in a very, very micro manner with small efforts and very, very little of a capital, then that may take ages for you to come up. So ultimately, democracy, whatever your orientation, whatever your ideology, ultimately you cannot ignore capitalism right now. That is the fact of modern democracy probably, and that's why Akhilesh is becoming an amalgamation, a cutoff point where he can amalgamate the Samajwad with the capitalism, and let us hope so he does very well.
I think
You want to ask something?
I just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify
come in,
that
yeah.
what I meant was not maturing of democracy, but maturing of the regional sentiment. And in some ways you are right that, BSP makes this claim, but in de facto terms it's a regional party, like Trinamool is a regional party, and the NCP is a regional party. It was interesting that Trinamool put up so many candidates in UP. I could not understand why that was the case. And I think this is where the regional parties have to actually come to terms with the fact that they are regional parties. Why should they not function in that mode? Why can't the BSP accept that it is actually largely confined to the UP, and maybe little bit of support in Punjab, which is
They have in Rajasthan also and Madhya Pradesh also.
But no, I mean, they have been trying.
Small percentage they have. The last election they won 6 MLAs, but unfortunately 6 MLAs have actually shifted to Congress.
In Madhya Pradesh, it's more in the Bundelkhand area, which is in proximity of. Yeah. So if I may.
I think we'll, there's tea outside, we can go on at tea, there's a small enough group that tea no doubt is appreciated. And it's small enough so that people can talk to Anil outside. So thank you all for your participation. Anil, thank you very much for coming. We have the ceremonial presentation to you of another one of our fine publications. Thank you very, very much. And as I say, there's tea.